Benito Mussolini. In 1945, Mussolini's empire had completely collapsed. Once hailed as Il Duce, the leader of fascist Italy, he was now a fugitive, hunted by both Allied forces and his own people. As the war neared its end, Mussolini tried to escape Italy disguised as a German soldier. He wore a military coat and helmet, hoping to slip across the border into Switzerland with a small group of loyal followers and his mistress, Clara Petacci. But their convoy was stopped near Lake Como by Italian partisans. The fighters quickly recognized him despite the disguise. Captured and taken to a farmhouse in the village of Giulino di Mezzegra, Mussolini spent his final night under heavy guard. The next morning, on April 28, 1945, he and Petacci were led outside to a stone wall. Without ceremony or trial, they were executed by firing squad. Their bodies were later taken to Milan, where they were hung upside down in a public square for all to see. Adolf Hitler. By April 1945, the Third Reich was collapsing. Allied forces were closing in from all directions, and Soviet troops were already inside Berlin. Adolf Hitler, once the most powerful man in Europe, had retreated to his underground bunker beneath the Reich Chancellery. There, surrounded by a handful of loyal followers, he refused to surrender and continued giving hopeless military orders to armies that no longer existed. As the sounds of artillery grew closer, Hitler realized the end was inevitable. He married his longtime companion, Eva Braun, in a brief ceremony inside the bunker. The next day, April 30th, 1945, he said his final farewells to his staff. Not wanting to be captured alive, he and Eva retreated into his private room. Moments later, those outside heard a gunshot. When aides entered, they found Hitler dead. He had shot himself, while Eva took poison beside him. Their bodies were carried outside, doused in petrol, and burned in the garden above the bunker, just as he had instructed. Within days, Berlin fell, and the Nazi regime came to an end. Nicolae Ceaușescu. By December 1989, Nicolae Ceaușescu's grip on Romania had collapsed. Once the absolute ruler of a tightly controlled communist state, he faced nationwide protests fueled by years of oppression, poverty, and corruption. Demonstrations erupted in the streets, and the army began siding with the people instead of the regime. Ceaușescu and his wife Elena attempted to flee the capital, Bucharest, in a helicopter, but were quickly intercepted. They were captured and put on a hastily arranged trial, lasting only minutes, where they were charged with genocide and other crimes against the Romanian people. On December 25, 1989, the couple was executed by a firing squad outside a military base. Their bodies were buried in unmarked graves, ending the reign of one of Eastern Europe's most notorious dictators, Pol Pot. By the late 1970s, Pol Pot's reign over Cambodia had collapsed. As the leader of the Khmer Rouge, he had imposed one of the most brutal regimes in modern history, responsible for the deaths of an estimated 2 million people through executions, forced labor, and famine. After being overthrown in 1979 by Vietnamese forces, Pol Pot fled to the jungles along the Thai-Cambodian border. He remained in hiding for decades, living under harsh conditions with a small group of loyal followers. On April 15, 1998, Pol Pot died in his jungle hideout, reportedly from a heart attack, though his life had been filled with fear and isolation in his final years. Muammar Gaddafi. By 2011, Libya was engulfed in civil war. Muammar Gaddafi, who had ruled the country for over 4 decades, faced a massive uprising fueled by years of oppression, corruption, and fear. Once untouchable, he was now on the run, moving between hideouts in the desert with a small group of loyal followers. On October 20, 2011, near his hometown of Sirte, Gaddafi's convoy was intercepted by rebel forces. After a chaotic firefight, he was captured alive but severely beaten. Despite surviving the initial attack, he did not live to see justice. He was killed by gunfire.